Hello, my name is Jacob Dominguez. I'm a first year student at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, and my research project was done over the psychological errors that aren't so psychological. And what I wanted to focus on was the way the patients were being diagnosed and how the new medical model that they are being forced to use is currently changing the way they diagnose their patients. Um, I was first introduced into this errors in the medical field through my high school class when I was becoming a pharmacy technician. My teacher presented to us a documentary where it showed that the statistics for medication in patients dealing with ADHD were not proven to be effective. So this doctor was attempting to use alternative medication or alternative treatments, and he had great results, but the FDA never wanted to approve him. And that doctor, at the end of the documentary, was still fighting the court, still trying to beat the system, and he wasn't able to. That that's what got me started into this subject, and then I got my pharmacy technician degree, and then in the summer I noticed when I started my job that there are many children that receive this medication. They they constantly every month pick up their prescriptions, and they are forced to take these medications every morning or in the evening whenever they're prescribed. And I see these children and they just seem so out of it. They no longer have that youth in themselves, and it's a bit hardening to see. And then as I continued my university courses, I got involved in my psychology class. And in my psychology class, my professor explained to us why the medication was being so easily given out. And this is because with the new latest revision of the DSM, which is what the psychologists use to um, diagnose their patients, it is telling them to use the medical model. And the medical model medicine solves almost anything. You have emotional problems, they'll give you medicine. And he disagreed with this greatly because in the school that he came from, he studied the school of behaviorism. He was told that putting actions into place will solve problems. If you were having constant depression or you were constantly saddened, one of the methods he found very effective was if you went out for a run, it was hard to be sad while running, and I thought that was true because at the time I was running a lot, and I thought, okay, yeah, I could see how that could work. And then he had us do a research project, and I noticed that um, children that were being diagnosed were often being diagnosed by the wrong people at the beginning. It started with their caretakers and their teachers from the elementary years where they tell the parent, I think your child has ADHD or has some mental issue. And the parents obviously want best for their kids, so they take the son or daughter to a psychologist and they run the studies. And it's a good percentage or a good chance that a child with full of energy might be diagnosed. And I wanted to know if these children are being misdiagnosed or overdiagnosed. And I really didn't find the proper sources that would give me definite answers as to whether or not the numbers were true and if children were being diagnosed a great amount. But I did find that some psychologists have been making errors in their diagnosis and having to go back and been proven wrong by an older psychologist or another coworker or such. And I noticed that there was a gap in the sense that they never talked specifically on the numbers of these patients having overdiagnosis. So what I wanted to do was find out what the people thought about how the psychologists were diagnosing their patients, how much they trusted them. And when I interviewed two students, I noticed that um, a surprising a surprise in their answers. I interviewed two students. One was a freshman student in my grade, and the other one was a student in her third year. And what shocked me was that the student in his first year actually provided more insightful answers instead of just answering it as a third year student was. And I might consider that as maybe the third year person had less time and was just trying to answer the questions, get me out of the way. But they did give me some insight. They both pretty much trusted that these professionals knew what they were doing. They were in favor of a second opinion. Um, they disagree that medicine solves everything, but the third year student did believe that it could help greatly. And I guess that's where we get some of the um, people thinking that that's what's going to solve their problem, medicine. Um, Another thing I forgot to mention was the reason why the medical model is put into place is because big pharmaceutical companies have bought out the the industry and are essentially forcing their products upon the psychologists, because with so much money they can vote and easily allow their product to be used over and over again. So they have bought out the company, and I see that in my work all the time. I see pharmaceutical reps coming over it, buying people food, and it's it's a bit overdone and it's very noticeable. What I want to come out of my research paper is how the population perceives the medical field, and that there is some flaws that we do have to fix. That medicine will not always solve your problems. That you might want to get a second opinion if you're going to go see a psychologist, because that second opinion might be a difference between having your son just be normal and being that his entire life, and that label will stick with him throughout his entire life. And I've done research on that part where the people that take, or the children that take medication for ADHD are labeled like that, and they often have issues growing up into adults. And with this research, if somebody were to go deeper into it and find out the problems, then we might get a new revision of the DSM-5 and get the push for psychologists to do what they have studied for, instead of having to use medicine to heal their patients. And I'm sure they would agree with that as well. And for my activity, I would like for um, my audience to go look into some of the schools of psychology and see which one they prefer. Personally, I prefer behaviorism. I believe that that would work greatly for somebody that had any problems, but some people are more emotional and might like different schools of psychology. That way they can talk about their feelings and really get to the problem, instead of behaviorism, which kind of um, makes you avoid it in that way, that you don't know about it, you don't think about it, then you're thinking of something else. So I will put some links to some um, descriptions of the schools of psychology and the differences, and I hope that you guys will choose your favorite. Thank you.